Little, Storybook.
What would you do if you had to outsmart a giant, hungry tiger to save your family? This is the story of a brave young deer named Danny, who used his wits in the most amazing way. In a beautiful sun-dappled forest stood a meadow filled with soft clover and pretty flowers. Here lived a gentle deer named Danny. He had a coat of soft brown and a white fluffy tail that wiggled when he was happy. Danny lived with his mother Daisy, his father Duke, and his little sister Dolly. They were a very happy family. Their home was peaceful, but deep in the darkest part of the woods lived a mighty tiger named Titus. Titus was huge, with stripes like shadows and paws as big as plates. He was very, very hungry, and his stomach rumbled like thunder. One sunny afternoon, while Danny and his family were sipping cool water from the sparkling stream, Titus saw them. "At last! A feast!" he growled softly, and he began to creep closer. He moved so silently that not a single twig snapped. But Danny, who was always curious, looked up from the water. He saw two yellow eyes glowing in the bushes. His heart beat like a tiny drum. "Thump, thump, thump! Tiger!" Danny cried out. "Run!" In a flash, the deer family sprang into action. They dashed towards the tall trees, their hooves pounding on the soft earth. Titus let out a mighty roar and burst from the bushes, chasing after them. Duke, the father, led the way. "This path!" he called, heading for the thickest part of the forest where the trees were close together. The deer, being slim, slipped between the trees easily. But big, broad Titus crashed into the narrow space and got tangled in the branches. He roared in frustration as he struggled to break free. "This way, we're safe for now," panted Duke. But Titus was strong and angry. He broke free with a mighty push and continued the chase, even faster now. Danny knew they were getting tired. He had to think of a new plan, and fast. He remembered a place his father had warned him about, a narrow, rocky path high on a mountain called Eagle's Perch. It was a dangerous place, but it was their only hope. "Family, follow me!" Danny shouted, taking the lead. "To Eagle's Perch!" They raced up the steep hillside, their legs burning. Behind them they could hear the tiger's heavy breaths. When they reached the path, they saw it was just as Danny remembered, a skinny ledge of rock. On one side was a solid wall of stone, and on the other was a very, very long drop down. One by one, the deer family carefully hopped across the narrow path. They were light and graceful, their steps sure and steady. Soon they were all safely on the wide grassy ledge on the other side. But Titus, blinded by hunger, charged onto the path without looking. His big, heavy body immediately got stuck. He was squeezed tightly between the two rock walls. He pushed and he pulled, but he could not move an inch. He was trapped. He growled and snarled, but he was completely helpless. Danny turned to face the trapped tiger. "You are the strongest animal in the forest, Titus," he said, his voice calm and brave. "But strength isn't everything. You have to stop and think." Titus stopped struggling. For the first time he looked at the little deer not as food, but as someone clever. He felt a strange sense of respect. He let out a small, quiet grunt. Danny and his family rested safely on the other side. After a long time, with a great deal of effort, Titus managed to wiggle himself backward and free. He slunk away, his head hung low, knowing he had been beaten not by strength, but by a clever mind. And so, children, the moral of our story is, when you are in trouble, stay calm and use your brain. Clever thinking can solve even the biggest problems.